going to call the meeting to order and read the duties and responsibilities of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. The CVB shall promote, market, and sell convention and tourism-related business in the Nacogdoches area to further the promotion of tourism and publicity for the area and promote Nacogdoches as a tourism destination through the state, region, nationally, and internationally. The CVB Board of Directors is the governing body of the CVB, setting policies, goals, and objectives. The CVB Board of Directors is responsible for hiring the CVB Director, and that is it. So with that, we need to approve the September minutes, which were not approved at our October meeting.
They were approved.
Sorry.
No, you're good. They just had the wrong date on them.
Okay.
But so the only thing that was amended, I don't think we failed to include them. I'm sorry, but the only thing that was amended was the date at the top of the minutes. So if we could get an approval on those.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the September minutes. So moved. Okay, Alex and John seconding, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. We need to now take a look at our November minutes, and those are in your board packet. If you'll take a quick look at those, and then I will also entertain a motion to approve the November minutes once you've had a chance to look those over. Okay, Larry moves to approve. Second. Alex seconds. All those in favor of approving November minutes, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. And we're going to move on down to financial. Cheryl?
We should have the copy of those in your packet. I just want to mention a couple of things that, as we talked about at the last meeting, the Christmas lights are on the balance sheet as an asset. We paid $5,000 during the month of November, and we paid another $5,000. No, it's a little bit less than that. We didn't do the power washing, so we paid almost all of it. We paid the rest of the lights part in December, so it will be about 2 degrees at that. The other thing I want to mention on the front page under events expense, it shows to be very high, and this is because we paid to the band for the Nine Flags celebration downtown. And so at the time that we decided to revise this budget, I'm recommending we do that in January or February, depending. We may want to up that, knowing that that's in there, so we can up that budget so it doesn't look so out of whack. The only other thing that's a little odd, maybe, if you see it that way, the city is a little bit behind in the finance department, understandably what they're going through. And we have not received a bill for the utilities and the insurance. That's why those both are very low and don't have anything for last month. And we did not get, I just got the bill for October payroll. Like I'm paying it today. And so it will be paid in November, but usually they try to give them to me the last week of the month, so I pay them the same month, but it didn't happen. And I don't know, December may be the same way. It may be delayed because the last payroll in December is the 28th. And so it'll probably into January before we make that. So we may stay 1 month behind on those. Are there any questions about anything?
Any questions? All right, thank you, Cheryl, for that update. Appreciate that. The ad hoc committee that we put together at our last meeting comprised of Taylor, Larry, Philip, and myself. We have met. We met as a committee and put all the documents on the table. We've met with Jerry Baker, the city attorney. We met with Rick Beverland and Randy Johnson. to talk about the discrepancies and clarifying those documents and getting everything in line. We met, I guess, about 2 weeks ago for that. And then you all received some draft documents, which we will talk about down in number 8. But we, Philip and Ashley and myself and I guess that's it. Ultimate with Jerry and Rick Beverland and the mayor via telephone. The rest of us were in the room, but the mayor was on the phone today to talk through these documents. And so I know we'll have some discussion when we get down to 8, but I just want you to know that we are, that committee is still working, and there's, you know, we're not taking any action today on any of the recommendations, but we're still in that process. So, are there any questions on that committee? I know what you'll probably have some more questions we get down to. I will say that our committee meeting with these with the city is leading us into our item number 7, which is our search committee recommendation to hire our executive director. And I think I'll let Wanda, if you'll recall, Wanda and Larry and myself were on that search committee, which commenced work over the summer. We reviewed applicants over the summer. We went through a process where we narrowed it down. We had interviews, and then we've come to you a couple of times with our recommendation, but we feel confident that today we can fully come to you with that. So Wanda, would you like to take it away?
I make a motion that the board support the search committee's recommendation of Ashley Morgan for the position of CBB executive director.
All right. I want to hear a second. Okay, Crystal seconds. All those in favor? Say aye. All right, motion passes. So, yay. I feel like that is a win.
So now it's going to Rick Beverland, the city manager. Then he will sign it. And then it will go to city council officially. The recommendation will come to the city manager. That's on January 2nd.
So that's the timeline for that. And that, and we are operating under the existing agreement, which if you recall was a 3-month agreement that we signed at the 1st of November. And that agreement will expire in February. And so part of what the ad hoc committees worked was looking at all the different agreements. And you have in your packet some of the draft documents, including the updated city ordinance, the updated CBB bylaws, and updated employment agreement with the city.
Was there under the city contracts? If it's
What's that?
it's under city contract.
Oh, right, sorry, yes, y'all have copies, yes, y'all have copies of it. Thank you, Shelby, for that. So, I would, you know, we sent that out via email. I believe Ashley did. We haven't had an opportunity to discuss this as a board. We, as I mentioned, some of us met today to discuss this with the city manager and city attorney and mayor. And so I would just like to open up some discussion under this agenda item to talk about where we stand with that and what we learned. So,
If I may,
you can start this off.
so what has been done was the city attorney combined our 2 agreements, our employment contract and our agreement with the city of Nacogdoches. And it's honestly mirrored off of Medco's contract. And that was at the request of us because we want to be treated the same as Medco is. So that is what he did. But there are a few things that are different just because of the nature of our funding. NETCO is funded by membership. We are funded by hotel occupancy tax, which are city funds. So those are the main differences. It does, just because I know this is the burning question, say that the power lays with the city manager to hire the executive directors in my position. And that is currently the case from the city attorney is that we will not receive, be eligible to receive Texas Municipal Retirement System benefits if we aren't city employees. And we do currently enjoy those benefits. The city has a matching program. So that's one case for us to stay with how things are, but and Philip, I'll let you talk about what you've discovered. There may be some other options, which is primarily why we don't think action will be taken today, but we're going to let you all talk about it and have a chance to, raise questions. But I just wanted to let you know where that came from. This would also need to change our bylaws. We'll need a revision on our bylaws because, as you all know, in our bylaws, it says that the board has that power. And this will also even change an ordinance with the city. So a lot of changes just to make these agreements agree with each other. And we have to decide if that's even what we want. So with that, I'll open up the floor.
I'll also say that we clarified with the city manager and the mayor today that because Ashley's previous position as creative content director is now open, and so the city manager delegates to the division directors or the directors within the city to make those subordinate hires. So that is not something that I believe, I think that they all go through the city council to be approved or not necessarily.
Just
On the director.
Right, so she can, that power still lays with the CBB director to make the subordinate hires. So we wanted to clarify that as well, as far as the oversight goes. Okay, open the floor for discussion.
Well, I've got the, I guess what started all of this was when interim city manager claimed that he had already been hired and fired the CBB director because of the city charter. I wanted to pass out a copy of the city charter for everyone to look at. Because when I started reading the city charter, that's not what it says. Okay. And there's also this document here. This is a excerpt from the Hot Tax Act. And if you look at the powers and duties there, section 5, part C, where it discusses the appointing, suspending, revisiting city employees. It goes down and appointed administrative officers provided for by under this charter. And it's got this clause in there. It says is otherwise provided by law that he said that it was legal. Okay. And what that is that the CDB employees are paid out of a hot tax. So that invokes the Hot Tax Act, which is state law. And in the state law, this is that section C there on page 18. It gives the city the authority to delegate the not only the supervision and management and more supervision of these programs to a third party management, someone like the CDB. And so there never was a conflict between the city charter and the CDB. Okay. And what I saw these documents that we were presented with, that city attorney worked on, is they were crafted with that as the major assumption, was that the city manager had to have the authority to hire and fire the CDB director. That's just not good. So I think that whole thing needs to be recalled. That's my opinion on it. And I don't think there's ever been a conflict. Jeffers never pushed this issue because it wouldn't be no one ever pushed this issue until he kept it to the him. And I was said about that. But anyway, I think there still remains some conflicting documents between some of the bylaws and the city ordinance and all that, but they're kind of minor. And when you read this Hot Tax Act, it allows for the complete realm of possibility, going from either the city having the CBB, the tourism function, as a part of the city department, all the way to it being totally independent, a third party giving the money. And so you can have these public-private partnerships where you share responsibilities and all this by contract. They go on about it in this Hot Tax Act about everything has to be in contract. So I don't think there's any conflict in the way things are being done, and that our CDB personnel can be considered city employees if they're paid. Some places that they actually have the account as a city account, and they're getting paid by hot tax money, but they're also a city employee. I think there's no conflict with that. It doesn't conflict with the city charter. It doesn't conflict with I think there's just a few things that need to be fine-tuned. That's what that means.
When I read the document, I was forward from the meeting that we had to the new guy. It appeared to me that we're from the opposite direction. That we're moving to remove CBD federally in the state, which everybody in that meeting. And I don't know how we got those documents and those too. In that meeting, I know I said specifically all these other things that but it's going to take time to revise those. I didn't expect to see all of the documents. That's especially the our document.
And that's coming from the mayor. He specifically asked Jerry. He wants us to move forward and get past everything that happened. And I'm sure you could tell from that meeting and today's meeting, I think they could feel that we weren't quite ready to let go of everything that happened. That we were.
Well, and I think it's fine to say we want to move forward.
Yeah.
But there has to also be an acknowledgement, as I said, that day of that meeting, that things were handled very poorly. And you just say we're going to move forward and not acknowledge that, and not say, I'm sorry that this happened, it shouldn't happen this way, doesn't solve the problem. And then getting a stack full of documents that none of us, including nobody on this board, worked on those documents as far as I know. This is supposed to be stuff we're going to stop. I'm the one that in such a quick fashion.
It basically puts into writing the exact opposite of what we're talking about at that first meeting.
My concern also is the future of the board. You know, they say, hey, great terms, but as long as they have updated our documents too, now what happens when 5 years from now, new city manager sits there and decides that he wants to take the CBB and take over here.
Well, has the right to do that. And that's, I think the new CBD document is something like the board. I mean,
Possibly.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I can understand why they want to be able to, you know, evaluations of the executive director, but part of the executive director's job is to work with the board. And the board has no voice whatsoever in the evaluation of the executive director. That's leaving out a huge part of the executive director's responsibility.
And we did bring up those concerns today, and
And I'm sorry I couldn't be there.
No.
I haven't been to the meeting.
no, we understand. And I'm sorry that it was such a quick turnaround, but it has been, just so everyone knows, it's been really hard to get all of these people in the same room. So when they say we have a time available, I'm like, okay, we'll take it, you know. Rick did say that he understands that concern, and he even mentioned to Jerry, is there a way to write the language so that there's equal evaluation of the director? So, you know, when the city has their performance evaluations, that the board member could be, or the board would be brought into that somehow.
You're going to have far into that
Yeah.
evaluation. But I think it's still just pointing down the charter. It's clear that the city manager that's what we have to do at this time. Until we have an interest to get into the precise point. It never came forward. And it was not.
Can I ask a question? Were any of y'all here and around when Sherry was hired? I think we've lost all of the history on this board when that happened. I was here, and I can tell you the becoming city employees happened at that time because they were struggling with getting someone to take this position without the benefits that we could not offer. Without the city behind it, we could not offer retirement. The insurance was awful and very, very expensive. And so that was the time that discussion happened. When Sherry was hired, there was a committee made up of some city people and some board members. And they went through the process that they do for other directors. They took resumes, they narrowed it down, they did interviews. It was a process that involved this board and city people were on that committee too. And it was presented to the entire board. Once it was narrowed down, the entire board was in on the interviews, not just a committee. The committee narrowed it down, but the entire board approved Sherry's.
Well, I don't know if that's.
Well, no, I'm just
I
saying,
understand the process was determined, and we followed the process. So I don't know that what has been done in the past to hire Sherry was.
I just think some of the consternation happened because of the way that's the only one that was done.
Consternation happened because the interim city manager wanted to appoint somebody. That's
Well,
why the consternation.
he wanted the city to have some say so.
He wanted to explain.
Well, but the other issue though was that the direction I was given as the board chair regarding the hiring process was, it's y'all do it. I mean, I met with Benita and the interim city manager did not at the time appear to want to be a part of that process. And I laid out very clearly what our process was going to be. I submitted our interview questions. I mean, I'm used to hiring an SFA, so I've been, I talked with the mayor. So I wanted to make sure that I was crossing all my T's, but I think in the end, should we have included them? Perhaps, but that was never didn't cross my mind because they didn't ask to be involved in that. So
when you say to they, are you saying?
the city or city manager.
So would he have known at that point that he thought he had the ability to do this, or did he dig it up after he found out?
I have no idea what he thought. I mean, I have spent hundreds of hours in the past year working on this board and meeting with him personally and everything else. And I don't know what he thought would happen.
And this one,
Well, I just think there's a
timing of
difference.
it.
Because there isn't a history. We only have the first one. This is the first time they became city employees. There is no history. This is the first time. And yes, you've had interim interim attorney, interim city manager, and Sherry left right in the middle of all of that. There was a whole lot of interim misunderstanding, and I think there needs to be some grace in the fact that these people have.
Shay and Wanda doing that. For some of the hindsight.
Right.
And not only that. And that's been on the side.
It was a tense meeting.
So they were totally blindsided. And it was not.
So, and it sounds like you're saying that they just want to move forward, there's no apology, there's no authority.
No,
Or to
no.
say-
Well, and I don't think anybody's saying that, I mean, that's not what the issue is.
Right.
The issue is that we're talking about now. We agree that actually, the issue about now is documentation that we've been given. To me, as I read it, totally makes us their fault. And that's not, when I walked out of the last meeting.
So what, yeah, so.
The last meeting
What
we
did you
had-
walk out of there thinking?
The last meeting that we had with the city manager, the mayor, and city law attorney. I think we clearly expressed that we wanted to maintain the structure, and we were understood. And so when I got these documents, I would forget.
Tammy, they are apologetic. I mean, they're not going out of their way to make up for it in any way.
But
But they are agreeing that that was not handled correctly. Randy especially, he keeps reiterating he was gone. You
that
know,
was so forward, okay.
yeah.
So,
So I just say that to explain why it came so quickly. That does not mean that we have to act quickly. The reason we are bringing these today is just, and we don't expect action to be taken. It's on the agenda, just for doing our job.
so what would be, what do you think they want our action?
I mean, I guess they want us to
To
probably.
approve these as written. I mean,
But-
it's obvious.
Yeah, what's different about midterms?
Their funding.
I mean, so are new hires the net?
The city manager.
Like an organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But yeah,
No,
no,
they have a board offset, right?
they do, but their board is, they're paying members, it's not city funds, except for the city is a member as well. But the city manager hires the director. According to the documents though, and that's one thing that Jerry kept expressing is we can make the documents say whatever we want, but the course of action that the person in charge takes is, he can't, I mean, you'd think that as a lawyer, you can force them to do what you're supposed to do, but I mean, it depends on who's interpreting the document and how they're interpreting it. And, so, yeah, I mean,
So-
go ahead.
The city manager, okay, so if the city is gonna hire or fire the park manager, who double checks them? Does that have to go to the city council, or he just says, I'm appointing so?
I think he can, I don't think he has.
All,
to go to
there's
council.
all directors have to be through the city.
Right, but
He hires.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to find a check and balance there for that, so they, so who's doing the interview? Tell me.
There is no change.
And how does that city, he just pick somebody, or did
No,
they
the city manager, I mean, all the directors I know that have been hired, all went through an interview process and a committee. They have a committee of 6 or 8 people and
I don't, yeah.
different departments, and they look at resumes and they narrow it down and they do interviews. It's like normal. Now, the city manager can find it, and then it goes to city council. That's why I thought this would be the same, but I think that's not the case.
I'm just thinking it probably would have ended up the same result, probably. Because she's clearly the top candidate of all of the threats, so I'm just wondering what would have been. So that group would have said maybe recommend Ashley. It's just, I'm struggling.
Had some other city directors or employees then on the committee doing the resume and the interview, they might have been fun.
is that how it is?
You didn't ask for that.
Right.
Yeah, that's, I mean, no one.
I know. That's why I'm confused
They
with
should
how
have
why
asked
it
to
didn't
put
go through.
somebody else, some more people.
Like, I know that's how it is for the city manager, but Sherry was ever brought in. And that's the thing is, we weren't treated like we were city employees
Right.
unless it worked better for their operation.
So what issue at hand is those documents?
The next step for us would be for our ad hoc committee to make the decisions.
Yeah.
That's what I was
And
wondering.
send those over to the city attorney
Yes.
and have him look at it.
And the whole issue of, I mean, you're comfortable with the current city manager. I'm comfortable with, I think he, this is either saying that he wants us to have what we want. But, that doesn't mean.
No, I know. And
You need to make these documents say that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and we'll include that in the revisions. But just moving forward, if y'all can review these and see if there's anything else that sticks out to you, since we don't want to do this every year. I would like to get to a place moving forward where we can just kind of, if this is working for us, you know.
So y'all, you haven't replied back.
We had a meeting today and we talked about it, and we let them know that the board hadn't gotten a chance to look at it, and that, you know, we still have to talk, and they said, you know, currently our agreements go until February and April, but Jerry said he doesn't see an issue with extending the February agreement if we need to.
Question. Did Jerry address whether or not he had looked at other cities in their registry?
We didn't talk.
Because that was one thing that's explicit. That there are plenty of cities that have the same. And surely they have resolved it.
Well, that was that part of that presentation that she gave us.
Yeah, new structure, she had all of
But
those.
looking, so I have a spreadsheet from CACBG. I should have brought it for y'all, but I actually can't find any just like ours. Most of them, but it also is, in my opinion, subjective because there are some that checks the box that says city department and nonprofit, whereas when we responded, we just said nonprofit. So, you know, like some people classify themselves differently.
So we're the only people that check with.
No, but there were very few that only checked the nonprofit box. And the reason is we get our funding from the city. And I mean, I don't think the city would give, most cities would give their money to a nonprofit, even though it's hotel occupancy funds and it can only be spent on a few things. Like if we're completely separate from the city, then they are the ones who are liable if the money is spent incorrectly. So why would they transfer that power to the nonprofit?
Well, the project,
One, because of law, so they don't have a function to do that. Profit, that does that.
But there are other functions in the city that do aspects towards them. Like they could decide to take that away if they wanted.
Yeah, the 990 form has a lot of things on it that rely on somebody overseeing those way their expenses are done. Because there are a lot of.
So I think to kind of move things forward, honestly, I agree with Phil. I think the ad hoc committee should look at these documents very closely with the fine tooth comb, and come back at our next meeting and either have some sort of action or recommendation on how to move forward, because I obviously don't let job category. So,
Oh, we agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have till February.
we do, and if we need to extend, obviously, you mentioned that shouldn't be a problem, so.
well, focus on the positive, higher, unless city council says they don't approve, you would actually.
I don't know about that, people in the world. So anyway,
I've written our director.
yeah, yeah.
Celebrate with that.
I mean, that was agreement.
Yeah.
That we wanted to move forward.
Yeah.
Wanting that one move forward actually. And they agreed that they were moving forward.
Yeah.
So we can check.
Second.
Second. So
Yeah, like
that's our good.
we really, like when we left the meeting, the first one, like Larry said, we were not expecting to have this already. Like I said, Randy Johnson put the heat on Jerry Baker and said, get this done ASAP. I think he just wants to get every remnant of the past city managers out.
Yes.
Well, but the irony is, to me, that it's doing exactly what the last city manager.
I think that they feel like they're stuck in a box because of the benefit.
Maybe
So
you just
we can
did this
prove that.
different thing and then now it's not either, it's written down, like, here's what we want, and now pick it apart, right?
Well, isn't the ordinance gonna have to be worked on?
Yes.
It's an intern, because that one has a lot more conflicts.
It is, yeah. And I mean, for sure that will not be on the agenda on January 2nd.
So that was a lot to put it at.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they understand.
Yeah, I think so. I think, working on that and having, like I said, some sort of report for January, even if they're not done yet, at least showing, what was my term again? Good faith effort.
Yeah, good faith
Yeah, we're working on it. Okay, so that was the agreement with the city of Nacogdoches discussion. Moving on. I do need to go, but it's okay. I can do a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Moving on to staff reports.
All right. Let me find the report really quick.
I didn't see your report.
Well, mainly I was going to report what we talked about today, that, you know, we've met multiple times with the city manager. I feel like things are moving in a positive direction with the exception of this little hiccup in the documents, but he is positive towards me and treats me with respect, which is a lot more than I can say about the last one. So I feel grateful to be in the position we are right now. In our meeting today, just we were talking about employment and who do I answer to and who hires us and things like that. So I decided to bring up event permitting and just get a taste of that. And he wasn't angry with me, which was amazing. He said that he agrees that event permitting does not make sense under our umbrella, but that they're kind of in the middle of a lot of things like hiring a planning director, which is who he sees this as going under. You know, I personally thought it might fit well under community services, but they're also overextended. So right now they are trying really hard to get a city planner in place, and then I think the dominoes will fall. Or at least I sincerely hope so, for event permitting to go under that. But in the meantime, we are continuing with event permits begrudgingly. Everyone, please keep Shelby in your prayers because she's at the end of her rope. And expect a motion from me coming soon about giving her a raise because she deserves it.
You deny it, I'm taking your popcorn. Yeah.
That's right. But he, like I said, he agreed, even the city attorney agreed that it didn't make sense. But I reiterated that we still want to be a part of the event permitting process. I want to be at the meetings, especially when it comes to tourism events, but that I expressed my concerns about this being a misuse of occupancy funds because it's not related to tourism. It's not abuse of a catfish fry or a backpack drive. So, so that was a good conversation. I'm getting really excited to hire a creative content director. Now that y'all have decided if you want me to do that. Unfortunately, it looks like hotel occupancy was down in November, pretty sharp decrease, and I just got this document yesterday, so I can't explain to you why. It doesn't make sense because our visitor numbers were huge in November, so I'm going to look into that and I'll give you all another update next month. But we're still up 10% for the year, so or for the running 12 months. So quick little backstory. When we were with SimpleView, that was our website host, we had something called a CRM, which is a data management software. When we switched to Sapphire, which is the website that we have now, they didn't have a CRM, and previous director chose not to seek out another CRM. So we haven't had a CRM in the past year, and I kind of feel like we need one, and it helps you keep track of leads on conferences and group travel projects and things like that. I got a quote from Tempest, which they have, it's called IDSS. And this would be a really great way to integrate that with our email marketing system as well to drive sales and marketing. It's about $6,000 a year. So I'm not saying let's do it right now, but I did want to kind of keep that in mind as a possible priority when we do our budget next month or February. And then as well as that, our speakers need an overhaul, and we got a quote from Encore. It would be, I can't even understand half of these words, but basically they would rewire everything, label it clearly for us, because right now when we turn on the music, it's like blasting in the bathroom, but you can't hear it out on the street hardly at all. So it's all messed up. And Encore gave us a quote for $2,200. Again, not something we have to do immediately. We use the music for Knapsack Fridays, we use it for the parade, and any other downtown events. So we don't have anything immediately happening, so I'm not proposing we do that today. But I also wanted to have that on y'all's minds for when we do the budget. And this is what I would consider building maintenance for you, Cheryl. Maybe, or event expenses, I don't know. But anyways, the city.
On board availability, if you need to get on their calendar.
I mean, they didn't express that. I mean,
I was working at the bank, you gotta get on.
yeah,
I mean, did you get any of the quote?
not yet, no.
Okay.
Honestly, we just had him come out to look at it because we were like, can you help us? And he came out and he gave us a quote, but no, I haven't sought out any other ones yet.
Well, there are purchasing rules in the city.
Right.
Know, whether we're a department or not a department, that we kind of get city
All
funds, so we may need to follow procurement. I just don't know what it is.
Isn't that for over 3,000 now? You remember? That's what I thought.
To get multiple bids, if it's something $3,000 and over, you need to get multiple bids.
Yeah.
If it's $25,000 or $30,000, you have to get approval from city council.
So anyways, just letting y'all know those things are coming up. Like I said, I would consider that building maintenance, but I don't know if that was considered, if those are assets or not, the speakers, you know, because apparently they're worth thousands of dollars. And I'm not.
Yeah, the whole thing is part of them
actually work. And then the other part was a leadership map project. The leadership map project is the Main Street side, and those do not work. So
I think the fact that they were done in pieces, they were probably just written off as they go instead of an asset that.
I got
you. Yeah, appreciate it.
So that's the rest of my director report. Does anyone have any questions? And then short and sweet for my marketing report. I just need all of y'all's help getting our calendar populated for 2024. I really want to be ahead of things for the year. We have the major event dates, but if you know of anything that's happening that you would consider tourism related, please just shoot me a text or an email and I'll find the information and get it on our calendar. And because right now when you look at our website and you see what events we have coming up, it's just like live music at Macklemores or karaoke at Logan's, and I know there's more than that happening. So anything you have, let me know, and we'll upload it to our website, or you can as well. But I try to save everyone some time.
That's all you
You're
said.
busy too, so I feel like people can absolutely go on the website and fill out information themselves actually.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we know people who are having events, just tell them where to go. Yeah. Post it on Facebook, post it on wherever.
It's
and
been a
give them the
struggle
site.
ever since I started.
Give them the site. 15 minutes or less.
And just a little quick marketing thing. Yesterday, I posted some drone photos of our Christmas lights. If you haven't seen them, it looks beautiful. The only complaint that I got is that somebody wanted to see a picture of them.
I almost responded, but daylight.
It was so hard for me to not
Turn
sass
the lights
back.
out and shoot one at that.
You make me fast. It's hard to see.
I was just like,
Tell them to come visit. Come visit.
Sure, we'll do that.
This thing is on every day.
Respond back and just say, well, you can come see them in person and come visit our town in the daylight.
I posted a picture of a drone photo of daylight. Hopefully that satisfied her, but it didn't have the Christmas lights on them. Anyway, I will pass the torch on to.
talking about Christmas. I'm short. The Christmas parade, so we had an after action meeting for the Christmas parade. Basically, everybody liked the route. There were a few hiccups, but I mean, this was the very first one. And it was thrown up with the light on. So, I mean, obviously there were going to be hiccups, but I think this is the route that it's going to stay. This parade,
Don't put us on that yet.
this parade was really large this time. And to go back to the original route with this side of the parade, it went upward. So if it wanted to stay this large, because it was bigger than normal, it would have to stay in this route. There were a few minor details that they thought could be changed with it, but overall, I felt like this was good for it. We had more space to spread out. I heard that a lot.
Can I interject one thing? I forgot to mention in my report. The Party in the Park was a big old bust. I was really upset about it. Unfortunately, people didn't show up for the music. There was a slight lull between the parade ending and the music starting. So I think that's when we lost people, but it was also cold. If we do this again next year, we talk about it all year long. I would have the concert before it. But
Yeah.
anyways, we can talk about that later on, Christmas in July or whatever. But I just wanted to let y'all know, and I'm sorry about that, because I think especially to have a live band, and it was a good big effort. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. It was cold.
You stop by the have music at the brewery.
Yeah.
Because there's no point.
Yeah.
People are watching the parade.
Well, it's disheartening because we hear constantly from people, we need more of this, we need more of that, so I provided it, and then they didn't come.
I heard there was a big gap between Santa, so people cutting
There
across. So that Santa should never see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, somebody.
And then my other thing is I met with a falconry conference. Cool. I met them last week. The bird was in actually August. What kind of bird? It was.
A falcon?
A falcon.
I guess.
No, some sort of hawk.
They're coming into town February 16th and 18th. February is a really big month for conferences, actually. it's that hobby and convention coming in, and then it's Impact, which is bringing over 500 students in. So that's gonna be a really busy time for North Street, stay on it. Not even first flying in.
Are they homecoming?
They're hunting, they're very close, so they have a hunt in Alto, but they're working for,
I live there.
but they're having their event at the Citizen, so their loads are gonna be there, and y'all are all invited to go first.
Cool.
Yeah. And then permits for 2024 have already started. Also did not be doing that yet. But yeah. That's it.
We had an active November, 1,791 walk-ins that we recorded.
That county Wassel Fest?
Yes,
Yeah.
Wassel Fest was a big part of that. That was the Day of the Dead. Also, we had a Veterans Parade one weekend, one
Yeah.
Saturday.
And then Harvest Day.
Art Walk, Art Fest is popular. So it was a lot of good folks coming in.
Do you think people actually maybe just tonight on a day?
I'm thinking that's what happened, but still, even with like a lot of day events like that, we still get overnight traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fredonia Hotel is included in this number, and I just have a hard time believing that they weren't fully booked in November. So I'm gonna look into that and find out, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It seems like something's off.
Yeah, but that's all. We've had good traffic in November.
More than I expected.
If we
Yeah,
got paid by the head, we would be good.
Everything like looks great in November.
We only had one football.
Yeah,
That might be it.
I think it
maybe.
I also said with like the Centennial Homecoming, maybe October is bigger than normal. And so when it drops from October to November, but even to 2020.
For our next board meeting, it is Tuesday, January 23rd. I'm gonna be at TACVD Winter Conference. So I don't know if y'all wanna move it or if y'all would want me to try to zoom in. Or, but,
When you back.
the next week, I'm out all that week. Unless we did move Monday. Or no, I'm driving here on Monday, yeah.
Upper week or down week, we want to hear about which. Well, Shane and Alex continue to have problems with this time. Is there any other?
Well, I'm not sure what happened with Alex, but they got.
Well, and starting in spring semester classes,
Do you? So do we need to look at redoing our schedule?
unfortunately.
Okay, I'll send out a doodle poll. So next date is TBA.
Yeah, okay.
I think this time works. Crystal meets after 4, right? And then I feel like that works for most people. Just maybe a different day.
Well, Tuesday, Lincoln City Council sometimes.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be a problem.
It's usually not if our meetings don't go over.
During our budget in February, are we going to discuss, salary increases?
January.
Well, we said January, but I mean, right now, I don't know what's gonna happen in January, so it might be an early February meeting. But I'll let y'all know. But yes, if we are able to find a January meeting, then.
So there are more of a Cheryl question. Have we ever done bonuses?
We got a cost of living on this stuff.
That's the
It's
thing.
1%.
I don't know how that can be orchestrated.
The reason I'm not doing
I'm not sure how that would work because that's personnel and city, you know, but I only did this for about 2 years before we became city employees, and the board could do anything when we were doing the payroll. But once city gets in charge, that means holidays are determined, bonuses are raises, all of that stuff is really city purview. So we may have, even proposing the raises, we're gonna have to go through the NETA and you have to get personnel definitions. if what it is right now has a range of this to this, if you want to go to this, you've got to actually do another step. There's a whole lot of rules that are super crazy when you're dealing with city stuff. So I may need to get more educated on that before we have these discussions. To say, well,
Do you think an hour will be long enough for a meeting?
depends on what all.
Or do we need?
I mean, the thing is, we're taking some different directions. We've been doing things like the lights and, wanting to do this kind of software and all that kind of stuff. These are things that were not taken into account in the original budget. So I need to know what all those things are, and then we need to talk about, part of this is where do you put them? Is this building maintenance? Is this, events that we kind of, we kind of did we did the rubber band.
Are obviously neat.
Didn't the city have like that kind of stuff?
Well, what's different about that
Like
is
the office supplies. I mean, I write off a lot of things under office supplies, because what if they put them? Things that.
But Cheryl, the city doesn't have a list of all of them.
No, our budget is our budget. The city approves our budget, but that's it.
So there's not, so, okay.
They don't care about that part, just the personnel part.
They don't manage anything.
They don't manage it. Our budget is our budget. Well, I mean, if we spent restricted funds on things that are not tax eligible, then yeah, they're gonna have something to say about
but the city is nothing to say about at least, right?
it. Right.
Do you want a list of things we would like to add?
Well, I probably need to ask the question, if we wanted to do bonuses, because we have unrestricted funds, if we wanted to spend it on that, how would that be? Because I don't. I mean, the city's responsible for the W-2 forms at the end of the year, so it's got to go through that.
And unrestricted is the hot tax.
No,
No.
What's
That's
unrestricted?
merchandise sales, bridge sales, donations, any of that kind of stuff that's not hot tax.
So you
Any
don't-
income that's not hot tax.
How much money's in it?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Mine puts, have $100 every month or two.
Because a lot of people think we have admission for a museum and we'll say no, and then they're like, oh, well, I'll just put a donation.
I was thinking maybe if donations, because I know that's a big argument, we have grants and donations and memberships, and people know when they're donating and getting membership, that part of that is for salaries and things. So I'm saying maybe you could say your donation goes towards something, I don't know, but
I think we have a little.
then maybe that's where you get the money, because then it's proved, it's gonna prove that maybe that's how I can use.
Well, really, more of the unrestricted funds come from merchandise sales than any. We made quite a bit of money on t-shirts and stuff like
But
that.
y'all just, what do y'all spend it on?
More t-shirts. More t-shirts and more books right now.
So the question is,
We have not been spending the unrestricted funds.
right,
You could.
so, yes, I'm thinking,
Well, I mean, we could have made the decision to take the Christmas lights out of the unrestricted.
Right,
funds.
and then the only thing
I
that
brought it up, actually, just actually been doing this job since June. And she hasn't been paid for it, right, but she's been paid for the full position. Shelby's been doing a position.
No, she is getting interim.
I'm getting interim pay.
What I'm saying is,
I'm
she's
doing.
been doing both jobs.
She's
She's
been doing both jobs.
been doing both jobs.
Shelby's doing a job, she's not.
Shelby's also doing it on her, it's not even her, yeah, on her job.
I mean, that's what's so frustrating about all of this is the consequences are ongoing. Like, we weren't able to hire somebody, or we weren't able to hire two people. And it just set us back so much. I mean, we've been operating like limping along for the past 6 months. And all for what? What did you get out of there? So,
Well, it seems like you can't be in limbo without a infrastructure.
Well, Sherry's leaving happened at the same time as 4 other high up positions in the city leaving. There's nothing that's smooth up there. Trust me.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a mess. Everything.
Bring it up so we can take it out.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yes.
The whole thing about the unrestricted funds, the reason we haven't spent them is because everything that we do is qualifies for hotel.
Yes, and what I was told when I took this job is if it's possible to be under restricted funds and hot tax, to take it out of there first and don't spend. So I don't ever take anything out of unrestricted. Now it gets really iffy on the event stuff. When we were selling concert tickets and then we had expenses against that, those things kind of got really iffy. I just hope we don't get audited on the OpEx part, because those would be a little bit more.
Well, could the speakers be?
They could, but they also could be,
I don't see any reason
I would
not.
say.
yeah, I mean, we're just.
Well, everything that's spent for this building, it goes under restricted funds because that's part of our job and as tourism is to run the visitor center.
Attached to the building.
Right.
And our contract with the city, whether it's valid or not, to say that we said we need to set aside $5,000. So that I wondered if this be. I mean, Lord knows we definitely pay that.
Also, that quote was broken down into 5 different things. The main thing I think that we first need to focus on is $550, which is to rewire the systems,
Yeah.
figure out where everything goes.
Yeah, we can do it.
That's legal.
Yeah, that's
So like, like it doesn't have to be all of it at this one time. I do think for sure get the rewiring to get it to actually work, because
Yeah.
it would be fun to have Christine music right now and do stuff for next after Waffle Fest. But so having it didn't work.
Absolutely.
What have we resolved?
Nothing, we're just talking.
I just want to make sure.
I don't need y'all's approval, no, that's, I don't need y'all's approval to go forward with that, because it. Yeah, we are.
So we are adjourned.
Yep.